What's going on, guys? God bless you. Carlos here with Serrano's Mobile Detail in Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. Today, guys, we are going to be cleaning this 4Runner's engine bay. Today we're doing an engine bay detail on this thing. Let's get started. Winter is here for us here in Texas. One of the biggest things I can recommend you do for us mobile detailers out here is let your engine run before you start loading it up with your tools, right? So that's one thing I can recommend. Winter tip number one is let your generator just kind of run for a little bit before you start overloading. That's gonna, I feel like, prolong the durability of your generator. On this project, it's very crucial for you to set your standards with your client before. I was talking to this client and I asked him, hey, quick question, how often do you service, maintain, wash your engine bay? He said, I have never washed it since I have purchased it. He has taken a couple of trips, off-roading trips, and it's never been washed, right? So couple things we want to make sure and let the customer know right off the bat is, hey, the outcome may not be as we are expecting, because one, they could be what we call mud staining, meaning some of this mud, depending on the clay that it is, if it's wet, it can stain the plastics. So it's just letting the customer know, like, hey, I'm gonna do my very best, but I can't guarantee this thing's gonna look like a brand new engine. If it's never been serviced, well, there's some pros and cons to engine bay detailing. So set your standards with your client. So for the product choice, we are going to go with Super Clean. If you guys have been following the channel, you guys already know Super Clean stays on my arsenal. I've been using Super Clean almost for about 6 years, I believe. Since I started my business, this was my go-to. This is always my go-to. Will always be my go-to for Serrano sauce. So if you haven't tried that Serrano sauce, go check it out. If you don't know what it is, just type Serrano sauce on YouTube and I'm sure I'll pop up somewhere in there. But for today's product choice, we are going with Super Clean. Since this engine bay is very rough, you have two options. You can use a foaming method, which is this one here, in the aerosol style of sprayer, or you can use a liquid, which sprays as in liquid form. The beauty out of this one is you can dilute this one if you need to. So if you're wanting to make more product, you can. I love using this one, putting it in different bottles, creating a 30-to-1 ratio, and then I add my 8 drops of Dawn dish soap. You guys already know, for that sauce, and you can have more product, right? This is perfect for me. I love doing interiors with Serrano sauce, especially when they're dirty. This is my go-to. Whatever you want to use, that's up to you. But on today's project, we're gonna go with some Super Clean. Let's turn this engine bay on to start getting some heat going, and then we'll start all the fun stuff. We have the engine bay is currently running. I closed. All right, so I've got the engine bay running. Since this is only going to be a engine bay detail, we're going to talk about pricing as well, but since it's only a engine bay, one thing I want to do is I don't want to make a mess and I don't want to be cleaning more than I have to. So we are putting this the towel on here so that when I start washing it, I don't get dirt and mud all over this glass, eliminating me having to do more work. So we are using our XXL from Auto Fiber, and I love using this thing to just shield away anything kind of going towards the glass. So always cover your glass, at least if you're going to be doing a engine bay detail only. Short people problems, I'm climbing on the tire, and I'm just going to put this up here, and then I'll just put the wiper over this towel to kind of secure it, and that should be okay. All right, step number one is going to be, we're going to be rinsing this engine bay really quick. Just kind of start getting everything wet. And then we'll start with the product. Once we go from the top, now we're going to start aiming towards the whole engine bay. So while we're doing in this engine right here, a couple things you want to watch out for is that little thing right there. I think it's called the radiator. I don't know, that sounded so stupid. Okay, so if you're a detailer and you've never done an engine bay, right, what is one thing you want to watch out for? And it's that piece right there. I literally forgot what that's called right now, but that is one thing you want to be careful. You don't want to introduce too much water into that area. So you got to be very cautious when pressure washing around that little piece right there. All right, now that we have successfully kind of rinsed off the whole engine, this is kind of how it looks. There are some areas where it just, I don't like it, but that's okay. This is the pre-rinsing stage. There's still mud and everything on there, but this is how it looks after you rinse it. All right, now I'm gonna go with the aerosol super clean so it can foam up really good. I like this aerosol one because it foams up and that just gives you some good amount of dwell time on the product. And while you're doing your engine bay, the reason I keep this truck on is because I do not want water sitting going into different areas. So that's one of the reasons why you keep your engine bay always, your engine running. You can also use a foam cannon if you wish, preferred. If you're one of those detailers that you want to use a foam cannon, you can put your super clean, you can put your degreaser in that foam cannon and just let that foam do the work as well. Okay, you're now hearing the engine up. The reason I do that is because I'm going to start agitating, and last thing I want is the engine grabbing one of my brushes or something like that. So we are strictly going now into the brushing stage, and for that we usually go with a couple brushes. I usually go with some more harder bristles. So for that we are going with this style of a wheel brush. I also have the thicker bristle brush, and then we also have the tire scrubber in case we need to really kind of scrub the plastic, and we have like these medium bristle brushes. These is kind of, we're going to agitate everything in this engine. And then the way I would do it, right, is I start with the thicker one. This is to just kind of just agitate everything. And I just have soap in this bucket real quick. Then we'll go right into, I usually start from kind of like the back, agitating wherever your brush fits. The bristles are just gonna clean much better. Obviously, don't try to put too much force into cleaning this. Let your product, the product is gonna do majority of the work, right? Your bristles are just gonna agitate a little bit, because if you start putting too much pressure on here, you can bust some lines or loosen up some hoses. So you don't want to do none of that. You just let your product do the work. The bristles are here to just kind of help agitate a bit better. Now let's talk about pricing. Carlos, what do you charge for engine bays? What should I charge? Those are always my favorite when I get asked, what should I charge? What is this? But to answer that question, what you should charge, it's up to you, you know. Well, I'm nobody to tell you what to charge, but I can only give you my input based off kind of what has worked for me. Since this is a engine bay only, this is what we call an a la carte item, right? So the price is definitely going to be much higher than the average engine bay price that I do. The cost for this engine bay today is $150, and that's just for the engine bay. On average, my pricing runs between $150 to $200 for a engine bay only, and that obviously includes scrubbing everything really good as best as we can, just giving this engine a good reset. Now, some people might probably be saying, I'm doing too much on this engine. All they do is spray their product and rinse it off. And you're very right. You're definitely right. But when you're dealing with these kind of engines, it takes more than just your everyday APC and pressure washing. But let's not get carried away with that. The price on this one today is $150. That's just for the engine alone. One, because it's all I'm here for is the engine. And I know some of you guys might say, wow, that's crazy. No, I don't get that much over here. Oh, I charge 50, I charge 40, you're ridiculous. But one, your time is important. The distance is important. If this customer would have hired me for an interior detail, and then they say, I want the engine bay done, then the cost would have only been $50. And that's reasonable, right? So today, we're only charging $150 for this engine. But as you guys saw, it definitely needs a lot of work. All right, we've gone ahead and turned the engine on for this process. Now we start the rinsing. Ah, my phone. Usually you want to go by section. So this is my first section here, making sure I get every point of angle and contact on this engine, and then we'll switch it again. We'll probably go to the other side, get that side, then we'll go to like the middle, rinse everything off really well. But that's kind of the process I take into these engines. So on average, the tip I mostly use is the 15-degree nozzle, which is usually the yellow tip. That's preference when I wash the car, rinse the car. But at times, since we are dealing with some very stubborn mud, I switched over to the 0-degree nozzle. Now, I don't recommend you using the 0-degree nozzle because one is the strength. Obviously, there's a lot of caked on mud. But the way I use this is I'm not gonna be here and like point at this hose, because then I could really cut through it. So what you wanna do is always from far, just let the pressure do the work. And that 0-degree is really gonna push that caked on mud off of these areas where that 15-degree nozzle is not working very good. Alrighty guys, this engine is finally done. How did it turn out? Well, let's take a closer look. This project took me about an hour total from beginning to end. And obviously today's main ingredient to this whole process was super clean. We use the aerosol and we also use this one as well, just to kind of put it in to play. Super clean has been obviously, like I said, my most favorite product to use in my detailing arsenal. And we just pretty much sprayed super clean on here, let the product dwell, let it work, right? And then we came back with different tools and agitated every area that I could and rinsed it off. Once we rinsed it off, obviously we went into our blow drying stage and we blew everything on this engine with the engine on. Again, I can't stress that enough. When doing engine bay detailing, preferably you want to turn the engine on. That way the water is not sitting and can go into areas that you don't want it to go. Right after we blow dried it, then we came into the conditioning phase. For today's conditioner, we use Detail Coat Shield, their interior protect, because I have really enjoyed using that product because it really restores, in my opinion, like it gives it that nice finish, right? But overall, this engine really turned out really good. I was a bit worried when I saw it. Plus, he hasn't done it in a while, but product is going to be your best friend every time when dealing with engine bay details, right? So I hope you guys kind of enjoyed of my process today, a little bit of some tips, and you guys kind of saw truly from beginning to end how we clean a engine bay. As always, thank you so much for watching today's video, guys. God bless you, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.